there behind me? So great to see all of you. It's crazy to my class. We're gone for 1 week. It's like seeing all of you is just like a special treat. We just love all of you so much. What great people. If you're our guest here this morning, look around you. There's some great people in this room. We're so glad that you're with us this morning as we start our newest series entitled Change. Now, when I say the word change, some of us go, change. And, you know, when I was a kid, I grew up in a military family. Anybody in here grew up in a military family? And when you grow up, there you go. When you grow up in a military family, I don't think the Air Force said that. But anyway, when you grow up in a military family, you get used to a lot of change. And in my life growing up, we moved all the time. Move after move. I think I went to about 7 different schools, K through 12, always moving around. And I know some military kids do even more than that. But I would move all the time, and I really kind of got an attitude when I had to move my junior year of high school, and I really got an attitude about that one. And you know, it's just all these changes, and so I swore that when I grew up, I was going to move somewhere, and I was going to put down roots so firm that nobody could make me move. No way was I been. You know, I was staying there forever, and I've been here for 25 years now. But you know what? Even though I've been here for 25 years, guess what? The world didn't stop changing. Time and time again, change has come my way. Because that's the way change is. And for most of us, when we hear the word change, we have a bit of an emotional response. Now, how many of you in here, when you hear the word change, you go, yuck? Anybody? Oh, no one in this store's going to be honest. There we go. Okay. Yeah, I'm not really into change. How many of you, when you hear the word change, you go, yippee! Woo! I'm ready! How many of you are somewhere in the middle? I take it or leave it, depending on what it is. And so what we're going to be doing in this series is, we're going to be examining the power of change in our lives. We're all going to experience change. But maybe if we could think about change a little bit differently, we could live our lives differently. Because change impacts our lives more than we know. And change also impacts our faith. At CrossWinds, every year we pick a word of the year. And this year our word is connect. And the reason we chose the word connect is because we want to help you connect to God. That's why we get up in the morning. That's why our staff works so hard. That's why all our volunteers are sharp. We want to help you connect to God, but it doesn't stop there. See, God didn't want us just to connect to Him. He wants us to connect to one another. But then He requires us to do more. He requires us to, all of us, when we get up and we walk out of this building, we're to connect to the others everywhere we go. At Walmart, at the ballpark, at our jobs. We're called to be a connected people. We are called to represent the love of Christ to everybody we meet. And as we start a series, we always pick an emphasis verse. And this is a verse that we're going to be going back over and over and over again as we go through this series. The verse we've selected this time is from the book of Isaiah. Now, Isaiah was a prophet. And he came to the people of God, and they weren't behaving very well. Sometimes in America, we're not behaving very well either, right? And so Isaiah came to the people and said, listen, you know, the kingdom of God, God doesn't want you to behave this way. God wants you to experience this new life. God has so much more in store for you than the way you're living your lives. And you know what? Those words that he said in the scripture so long ago, those words apply to us today. So when it comes to change, we have a verse we want to share with you, and you'll see it again and again. Now, I know most people are not going to go and read Isaiah. A lot of times we'll encourage you to go read a book. Just the first 43 chapters of Isaiah, he's getting on to them. Kind of like how your mama gets on to you, your daddy gets on to you. He's going, come on, people, wake up. But after verse 43, everything changes because he begins to write to us about how God is creating something new. Let's look at this verse this morning. Starts off, forget about what's happened. Don't keep going over old history. He's telling us that we have got to get past our past. Anybody ever got stuck in the past? And no matter what you do, you can't seem to move past. You think about the past so much, you can't even think about the future. We can get stuck, and he says, forget about what's happened. Don't keep going over the old history. And I love this. He says, be alert. Be present. How many times do we go through life on autopilot? Do the same thing week after week after week, and we don't even stop to reflect that every day is a gift. And be present. Be present with our children, be present with our spouses, be present with our friends, be present in whatever challenges we face every day. Be present. This is the only life you And he says this about God. I'm about to do something brand new. Don't you like that about God? Anybody need a redo, a do-over, fresh start? Anybody? Our God is a God who does something brand new all the time. You see, our God's not like us. You know how we get stuck in a rut sometimes, and we just kind of stay there and we dig it in really, really good, and we just want to stay. You know, we're stuck. We're stuck. It's hard to get up, right? Our God's always doing something new. And it says it's bursting out. And that's why you got to be aware. You got to be alert. You got to get off autopilot. You got to wake up so you can see it. God is doing something new. And he says, don't you see it? Hello, people. Don't you see it? There it is. I'm making a road through the desert and rivers in the valley. I don't care how dry and parched your soul or your spirit is right now. God wants to do something new in you. But that's going to require some change in us. I looked up the definition of change. Well, I kind of know what it is, but I love the definition when I looked up, so I'm sharing it with you this morning. To cause to be different. When we experience change, guess what happens? We become different. And we grow. And change is all around us. Think about the world that God created. God didn't have to make spring, summer, winter, or fall, did he? Even in creation, creation speaks to the power of change. Our God is a God who wants to cause us to be different so we can be transformed. Our God is a God of transformation. Get this, God does not want you to stay in the same spot your entire Christian walk. He's going to push you, he's going to prod you, and he wants you to change. He wants all of us to change. And you know what? Truth be told, a lot of us, in the quiet of our hearts, we would love a change. Because if we were really, really honest, we would admit that, yeah, we're stuck. We've dug in pretty good. We're just riding on cruise control. I'm good. I got this. Truth be told, when we're stuck a lot of times, we get lazy. And we become indifferent. Some of us may even be feeling a little restless. Not excited about anything, much of anything anymore. And God wants to break through and do a new thing. But we have to ask ourselves, are we open to that? Are we open to how a change could come into our life and how it could transform us? Are we open to that, or have we closed ourselves off to that? When it comes to change, I think the big problem with change is not change itself. I think it's found in our resistance to change. Now, a lot of us, when change happens, we want to push back, don't we? We just want to push back and, I don't like this, I'm not going. You have to take me kicking and screaming, even when we know the change is needed and the change is sensible. In the church, you see it in the church everywhere, do you? Look at America. We have churches everywhere, on every corner. Why is Christianity dying? What in the world is going on? Do you think it could be that as Christians we've become resistant to change? Is that possible? Surely you've heard this in some church you've attended at some point. Well, we've never done it that way before. I firmly believe that if we are going to reach people for Christ, we got to be willing to do things nobody else is doing. I believe the best ways of doing ministry, of serving God, have yet to be discovered. And one of the things I love about this church is how change resilient you are. You know what Mike and I tried to do yesterday? We tried to come in here and rearrange the chairs in all these crazy ways and make you come in here and freak you all out today. But then we resisted the change and put them back. But isn't that the way we are? We're so resistant to change. Why do we resist change? If we know, see, change can be bad, right? But can't change be good as well? And can change even be neutral? So why do we push so hard when it comes to change? I thought about this long and hard. I thought, what about this? We just get angry. We just like things our way. Don't change anything. I like it this way. When Michael and I were at our previous church, we felt God calling us to plant churches. And neither one of us became Christians until we were almost 30. And we just really have a heart for people who don't know Christ. And we really felt called to do this, but we had been in a church and had about 150 and was running about 500 by that time. And some of the people there, when we got relieved, they got angry. And they came to us and they said, "Why are you leaving? We've got a good thing going." deny that it's happening. La, 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 la. You know, we like to pretend that it's not happening, you know, and we're just going to continue on in the old way where we do things. For example, my dad. When cell phones came out, my dad had a problem with cell phones. So much so that he had this ridiculous, how embarrassing. I mean, I was like, I don't know if anybody knows my dad's truck. But he had a truck and he had this big giant, what's that what they call bumper stickers? Had this big giant bumper sticker on the back of his truck, and it said, "No cell phones." It had a picture of a cell phone with a big circle with an X through it. Guess who has a cell phone? He didn't want to go along with the technology and all that. Now he has a cell phone. A lot of times we're just fearful of change, and we ask a lot of what-if questions. And then if other people are excited about change and want to move, you know what? We like to sort of, you know, we like to rain on the parade, don't we? We like to be, you know, Debbie and Dottie Dowler, right? There's no way this could work. Our God is always doing a new thing. A lot of times, we've got to be honest, when it comes to embracing change in our lives, it feels like a loss. You know, I like the old way of doing things, and I don't want to lose it. And sometimes we can get so stuck on the way things were that we forget about how things could be. We can enlarge our vision to include what God might be doing in our own personal lives and in the lives of our churches. And then finally, a lot of us resist change because of the uncertainty. I mean, come on, a couple of you are control freaks. 2 or 3, 4 or 5, 7 or 8. But we don't like the uncertainty. Don't we want to know? Don't you want to know everything? I mean, we want to know. We don't like the uncertainty. We don't like the unknown. We really, really want to know. But here's what you need to know. We can't control change. Change is swirling all around us. You might be sitting there this morning thinking, well, my life's pretty good right now. Nothing's really changed. Guess what? Change can come to you by this afternoon, by 4 o'clock. Some of you are going to send me an email telling me it happened. Change is all around us and we can't control it. In fact, it's a little bit like this. school, we heard about the Industrial Revolution. You remember studying all that? The printing press and all the different little, the sewing machine, and they made you memorize who invented the traffic light. And remember all those things when you were in school? That was nothing compared. The Industrial Revolution is nothing compared to what's happening in the technological revolution. Like kids, younger people, when I was a child, when I got home from cheerleading practice, guess what? We didn't have a microwave. My food was all dried up in the oven. All the things, these kids don't know of a time when they learn all these things, and all that happens. It's happening in the technology and it's happening in the world. What's happening in us? Inevitably, we're all going to face change. All of us. And isn't it right that as the church we should talk about this a little bit so that we can help equip you? Because if you're resilient to change and you know the one to turn to in the face of change, you know that God's always doing a new thing, then you're better able to equip what the world is dishing out to you. And you're also better able to relate to others. Because we can sit around and lament change and moan and groan that it's happening all we want, but it's not going to stop it. Change is at our door. For you, it could be a birth of a child. Anybody when is a baby a change in your life? Hello. No sleep for months. You get cranky. Your husband's not nearly as cute at 2 in the morning than he was before you had the babies, right? Good. And something could happen to your jobs, right? All of us. Anybody ever been impacted by a job change? That's a big change in our life. Illness. One of us, we could be sick tomorrow. Somebody we love could be sick. Somebody we love could die. There could be a disaster, like what happened in Oklahoma, what happened in our own community. Be something with your children. As you raise children and your children grow up and they go off to high school. And what about all these recent high school graduates and young people in college? Are they enduring change? And wouldn't it be great if we knew how to relate to them a little bit? Because see, change isn't the problem. Change isn't the problem. I want you to know this, that change is the one constant in life. And say that again. Change is the one constant in life. You can't run from it. It's coming your way. So as change comes into our lives, we have to remember that it's not change that's the problem, it's our resistance to change that becomes the problem. Now, I heard a story of the New York Marathon. The New York Marathon, tons and tons of people run the marathon. But when the gun goes off and the race starts and everybody starts running, not everybody can all run at the same time, right? Because they're all backed up. And what happens is the first runners take off, and before the very last runner, the New York Marathon, gets to cross the start line, 20 minutes have elapsed. And isn't that kind of the way it is in our change in our lives? We forget that other people are in different places and are starting in different spots when it comes to change. And whatever way we receive change and we process change, guess what we think? We think everybody else ought to do it the way we do it. If we love it, we think everybody else ought to love it. If we hate it, we think everybody... But we have to be aware that people process change differently. So we need to learn to be able to communicate to others that I'm having a hard time with this change. Or I'm having a fabulous time with this change. We need to learn to be empathetic to those who are struggling with change. Those who are going through change. We need to learn to listen to one another. We need to learn to try to understand where other people are. I think what's really important to help us, if you're a parent this morning, to have some language to use with your children, and no matter how old you are, we talked about to have some language to use when it comes to change is very, very important. I want to share something with you from a man who just recently died. His name is William Bridges. And he wrote about the different stages in our lives when we experience change. And he had some things that he called. He said that life is comprised of endings. Life is full of endings. Think about it. When you started school, when you were in school, and you started kindergarten, and you loved your teacher, what happened? It ended. And then first grade started, and what happened? It ended. All the way through, you go to college, and think you're in that college bubble, and life's going to be like it is in college forever. It ended. Life is full of endings. We're always constantly letting go. Letting go over and over and over again. Life has endings. But the problem with a lot of us is we can't let go of it. And that's really when we get stuck. See, when ending comes, when this happens in our lives, when the old way of being, the old way of doing, it's no longer possible. You see, as much as I loved my third grade teacher, I can't go back to third grade. Because life is full of endings. The important thing for us to know is that life is also full of transitions. Now, transitions are chaotic and they're confusing. And when politicians talk about change, they're going to come in and they're going to change the world. They never tell us about the transition time. Because it's going to be chaotic and it's going to be confusing. Transitions are emotionally draining. Sometimes they can suck the life out of you. You know what happens when you get in the middle of a transition? You're here and you want to head over to something new and you're stuck right here. It gets so uncomfortable sometimes and we hate the ickiness of change. But guess what we do? We go back to the ending and try to relive it again. When we do that, we get stuck. Because God wants to move us past the transitions in our lives and He wants to move us toward new beginnings. Because our God is the God of fresh starts, the God of the do-over, the God of the redo, the God who's always doing a new thing. You know what's really awesome? You begin to do new things in your life, but when you really know when you're growing is that when you learn how to be different. Change can make the interior of you different. It's one of the things we want to help you with, to be the best you inside of you can be so that you can be the best representative of Christ you can be in the world around you. Mike and I had wanted to go to Niagara Falls forever. It's been on my bucket list forever. And I don't have a very long bucket list, but that one was at the top of the list, And so this past week we got to go to Niagara Falls. And I had this vision years ago that when I went to Niagara Falls, what I would do is that I would flitter from tourist attraction to tourist attraction, because it's kind of like Gatlinburg on steroids. And I'd go to the Scary House and then the Teeny Museum, and I would do, all this. This is my vision of what it's going to be like when I got to Niagara. But here's how we change even on the inside. So I get to Niagara and I had these illusions of all these things. I tell y'all, I took one look at those falls and literally I spent my entire week just leaning over the rail looking at it. And isn't it great how God can work changes like that in us? Because that wasn't me. I wanted to go do all the crazy, chaotic, and all that stuff. But somewhere in the beginning, God did something different, where I was able just to sit and enjoy the beauty of what God created. There are some benefits to change. Now we can talk about changing, say it's positive, it's negative, it's neutral, whatever it be, but there are some benefits of change in whichever way it comes into our life. The first of all is the sense of adventure. We watch movies all the time when people are on adventures, and we forget that each of our individual lives are an adventure. Today's the only today you have. This week's the only week you have. What are you going to do with it? None of us knows how much time we have left, and we don't live our lives like adventure. With adventure. This is the part where we get past the past. We start looking at every day as an adventure. Now, our baby church, 5 years old, we're going to go on an adventure. We're going to go over to Madison and try and do something with a little campus over there. Okay, yeah, whatever. Kind of adventurous, right? Kind of exciting. Inside your announcement sheet, there was a thing, if any of y'all want to be part of the launch team to help with that, and there's a place for if you want a team you want to serve, sign up for that. Help us. We're going to go on an adventure. It's going to require some changes, isn't it? See, here's what we know. God is always doing a new thing. And who's to say that God's new thing isn't way better than the way we did the old? Another benefit of change is an awareness. You see, when change starts happening, have you ever had a change happen, something happens, and all of a sudden you kind of wake up to life? You get off the autopilot. You kind of become aware. You're able to be present, like that scripture in Isaiah. When change comes, we're more aware of what we're doing, how we're being. Another benefit of change is flexibility. Woo, don't we need to learn some flexibility? Some of us, we just don't bend. When we get in the midst of change, we move. And when we move, we grow. And our God wants all of us to grow. And then there's all kinds of opportunities for change. Anybody ever had a change in your job, and you kind of didn't want to leave the job, and you go off to the new job, and all these opportunities and new things, your level of enthusiasm is improved. There's new challenges, new opportunities. They say that as a human being, we should reinvent ourselves every 7 years or so. And our society is making that all the more real. It used to be that when you graduated from high school or college, you'd go get a job and you'd stay with the company for 30 years or whatever it is. Y'all know? Your parents said stay for. You know what it is now? The average adult in America today, 5 career changes in their working years. So in the midst of change, all kinds of opportunities arise. The biggest benefit of change, I think, is the personal growth that occurs. We really grow when we go through change. sit and think about all the changes, and I were to ask you to make a list of all the changes, and you were to sit there and look at it and say, you know, I grew this way here. I grew that way. I learned this here. I learned that. God does his best work on us in the midst of change. You ever look back on something and thought this to yourself? I thought that was going to be terrible. I thought it was the worst thing that ever happened to me. And then these words come out of your mouth. That's the best thing that ever happened to me. That's what God can do with us. Because he's always doing anything. I know a lot of us, we're still thinking about this whole change thing. And we're a little scared and we're a little leery, and I'm not buying it. I don't like change. Well, I remind you that our God is always doing a new thing. What's really cool about God is God tells us we're not alone. It says earlier in Isaiah, he says, do not fear, for I have redeemed you. I have summoned you by name. You are mine. When you pass through the waters, I will be with you. And when you pass through the rivers, they will not sweep over you. When you walk through the fire, you will not be burned. The flames will not set you ablaze. For I am the Lord your God, the Holy One, your Savior. I don't know how dry, how parched, how you might feel like you're wandering in the desert this morning. You are not alone. God is always with you. He wants to do a new thing in you. He wants to do a new thing in your heart. He wants to do a new thing in your life. And he wants to use you to do new things everywhere you go. And whether the change that comes your way is the best thing that ever happened to you, whether it's the most inconvenient timing that ever could be, or whether it's the worst thing that ever happened, you'll be able to stand strong. No matter the fire, no matter the pain, no matter the loneliness, no matter the suffering, no matter the challenges, you'll be able to stand strong. You don't have to fear because God is with you. The truth is, the more we change, the more we grow. And we will never be able to control change. But we can control our response to change. Another place in Scripture says this: if anyone is in Christ, the old has passed, the new has come. God is doing a new thing. God wants to do a new thing in your life. Will you not resist? Will you allow God to change you?
Could I get the grace to conclude this? Come to the part of our worship service where we take up our offering, but we also take up the cards that you communicate to us and sign up with, and things like that. So make sure you put those in there, whether it's the yellow one for being on the launch team for this new church, or even signing up to help for BDS or signing up for BDS. They're on there. But right now, I want you to focus on this white one. Pick this little white card out. That's your connection card. Hopefully, you filled out in front of it so that you have your information. But on the back of it, there's next steps. What I want you to know, as we take our offering, if you're our guest here today, please don't feel moved to give to the mission that we're performing. This is part of our worship for people that consider this a regular church home where they come here, and we understand that it's up to us to support this church and continue to help this church grow and move forward as God brings new changes to us all the time. So please allow us to worship with our tithes and offerings, but for us, this is a gift to you. And we want you, because you're our guest, to feel like a guest. So don't feel moved to do that, but do put your card in there. But look at the back of it on the next steps. And one of the funny things about the next steps is they're all about change. Every last one. From the first one, which says, I want to put my trust in Christ. Maybe you have lived your whole life doing things your way, being resistant to change. And it's not working for you. There was a time back in 1998 where I had finally reached that point where, you know what? Me being in charge of it wasn't working. And I wasn't changing, and I felt dead inside. And when I surrendered finally and allowed God to be in charge of my life, all it took was just a crack in the door, and God got right in, and everything changed, and I've never looked back. If you've never placed your trust in Christ and you want to do so, mark that on the card today. Baptism, if you want to be baptized, if you've never been baptized, we're going to have a baptism next week. Father's Day. It's a great time where we celebrate the new birth. It's symbolic of new birth. It's coming out of the water. It's a new creation. So if you'd like to be baptized, please join us for next week just to be here for the baptism. But if you've never been baptized, we'd love to help you with that. It's the 16th. I'm sorry. 2 weeks. Which is, well, 2 weeks, I'm sorry. We changed the schedule. And the last thing is I'm resistant to change in the following area. Please pray for me. There's a lot of stuckness represented in this room. I know, I've got my own that I deal with all the time. There's a lot of people that are stuck, dead stuck on something. And you either don't have the courage or the tools or the know-how or the faith to move forward. And you need someone to pray for you and come alongside you. Please put that. You can be very general or very specific if you want to write that down. We'd love to pray for you to get unstuck. Because that's what we exist as a church here to do. We exist to introduce you to the change that God is going to introduce into your life. And when God changes us, God transforms us. And when God transforms us, He transforms the world around us. And that's what we give to week in and week out when we take our offering. Is to create an environment where transition or change can happen. Life change. That's what we exist for. If you think you're here just to sing a few happy songs, sorry. We're here to change your life. We're here to introduce you to the God that will change your life. Let's stand up. We're going to sing our closing song, take our offering. Please make sure you put any card that you want to turn into that bucket as it comes by. And just remember, God is always with us.
God, help us accept change and connect. Help us connect to those in need, and let us be great examples of you. This week, transform us, change us. God, thank you for blessing us with great role models and leaders in Pastor Suzanne and Pastor Michael. These achievements are only a fractional representation of how amazing they really are. And all God's people said, Amen.